Hi, and welcome to Earth Talks. My name is Oluwagbomi Adetunji Awoshoga. I am the Board of Governor Teaching Chair at the University of Lethbridge. I want to start by giving the territorial acknowledgement. Okay, the University of Lethbridge's Blackfoot's name is Iniskim, meaning Sacred Buffalo Stone. The university is located in traditional Blackfoot Confederacy territory. We honor the Blackfoot people and their traditional ways of knowing and caring for this land, as well as all Aboriginal people who have helped shape and continue to strengthen our university community. It is my pleasure today to be here with Dr. Shawn Bubel, a professor in the Department of Geography and Environment, and the Distinguished Teaching Award winner at the University of Lethbridge 2020-21. Congratulations, and you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Please, can we start by giving us the brief background about your teaching and then how you come to be at the University of Lethbridge, why you decided to teach?
Sure, I'll do my best. I'm not known for my brevity, so we'll see how I can make a very long story as brief as possible. Maybe it's fun to start back when I was in high school. I was in a high school that was large for my small town, but a small town northeast of Edmonton. And my guidance counselor told me that archaeology wasn't a real thing and that I should choose a sort of more traditional path at university. So I decided that I would pursue chemistry, and I really loved chemistry and the sciences in high school, and of course loved other things like social studies and drama, etc. So I was one of those kids that kind of loved just learning about all these different topics, but I was told to, find something that would be practical and go to university and choose a practical trajectory. So I looked through the different calendars from the universities in Alberta at the time. So this is back in the 80s. And University of Alberta had a good chemistry program, but I also wanted to go as far away as possible because I wanted to have kind of a broader experience. And then I looked at the University of Calgary, and then I looked through the calendar at the University of Lethbridge, and I discovered that I could start as a chemistry major, but I could take all these other courses because it was a liberal arts university. Yeah. So it was the perfect place to go because I could take archaeology, but also it was the furthest university away from my hometown. So I was thinking University of Lethbridge is the place for me. And the moment that I got here, it was such a warm and welcoming campus. I felt like it was my home, right? I felt like it was my second home.
Wow.
And I had absolutely amazing teachers here that inspired me and showed me that I could do whatever I wanted to do and I could pursue the things that I wanted to pursue. And so I took their advice and I kind of jumped in and I did a whole bunch of archaeology classes, and I went on my first field school in my first year, so the summer of my first year, and I realized that this is what I need to do with my life. So it's thanks to them encouraging me and being really passionate about what they do that I decided, nope, I'm going to switch my major and I'm going to become an archaeology student, even though that degree didn't exist at the time. Yeah. They made a degree for me. It's called an individualized multidisciplinary major. Yes. So they made this degree for me. Yeah. So they invested in me. And I was just one of the thousands of students here. And so I felt, really like cared for and also, like I said, inspired. So that's how it started.
That's good. That's one of the advantages of coming to the University of Lethbridge. They are able to work with you one-on-one to make life easier and to make sure they are able to give you the best experiential learning in the city of Lethbridge. The city is known for its smallness, but made up of friendly people. I'm happy that you find University of Lethbridge or Lethbridge City home, moving away from Northeast Edmonton. Yeah, could you please share your teaching philosophy with our viewers?
I'm one of those people that learn from my students as much as they learn from me.
That's good.
So I really, the foundation of my teaching philosophy is one of learning together. We're all lifelong learners,
Yes.
and so they inspire me, and I want to inspire them back. The center of my teaching philosophy is one of collaboration and learning and experiencing the joy of learning. Now, that's not to say that I don't want the students to know the foundational knowledge that they need to know to be successful. And I want them to be critical about what they're learning. And so I want to instill this critique of their world and of what they're reading and hearing and things like that. But also, to be critical, you need to have the knowledge. You need to have the foundation to understand how to evaluate and think about the things that you're learning and experiencing. So it's one of openness, togetherness,
Yep.
but also one of we work hard and we learn all the things that we need to know to move forward and to push those boundaries. So
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. Yeah, we are all co-learners.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I do tell my students as well. In class, don't think there is somebody who knows it all.
right,
We
yeah,
learn from the
exactly.
ideas. Yeah, I know you are involved in both undergraduate and graduate teaching. So can you tell us more about your experience dealing with both at different levels?
Yeah, I'm really lucky because I get to teach everything from the first year courses all the way to graduate courses.
Wow.
And the teaching of the different courses, as much as my teaching philosophy remains the same, I still want to engage those students, even if I have a class of 250 or a class of 1 for an independent or a graduate student. I still want to be engaging, but I run those courses very differently. So in my first year, we focus on knowledge building. We focus on thinking about critical interpretation. By the time we get to the fourth year, the seminars and the graduate courses, it's really an engagement or a one-on-one interaction with each other. So then we really dive deep into the topics that we're studying.
Yep.
And really focus. I get to both, I'd say, show the first year students just the diversity of the discipline and all the exciting things that the discipline of archaeology has, I guess. It's kind of a strange way to put it, but it's something that they may not have ever seen in high school.
Yep.
And so it's really exposing them to something that
new.
is maybe new and hopefully exciting. And then, yeah, once we get to the senior seminars, it's that really engaged learning at a deep dive level.
Exactly, that's where I'm going next. How do you keep your students engaged?
Well, I drink a lot of coffee. I don't know, when at the moment that I start teaching and I see them in the classroom, it's like this wash comes over me and I can't help myself.
That's
I
good.
just get really excited and passionate about what I'm talking about, even if it's, maybe something that's not as exciting. Some of my colleagues tease me that how can I make dirt so exciting? But it really is. It's so cool to be studying these different things in our world and our human beings in the past, in the present, in the future, right? These are all they're topics that are super interesting. So I'll just start talking and I'll have these lessons prepared, at least in my mind and on paper, and then I get into the classroom and it's just like it hits me and I'm gone on some hopefully correct trajectory in the classroom. And I think that excitement and that passion keeps them awake. At least I hope it keeps them awake and also engaged. So I try.
Yeah. Also, I know that you are involved in many field work, taking students out. How do you manage them?
I'm really lucky that I get to do courses like that where I actually have the students with me 24/7 for 5 or 6 weeks.
Wow.
Like it is full immersion. And that has its challenges because I'm not only their professor, their teacher, but then sometimes I'm their parent, sometimes I'm the health caregiver if they are not feeling well, or, so you have all these different types of responsibilities that go along with that. But like I say from the very beginning, at the moment that they even apply for the field school, I explain that we're a team and we go in together and we support each other and we rely on each other.
Yeah.
And we learn together, of course, right? It's about their learning and their growth as students, but also their growth as people. So it's tough because like I said, you're on 24/7. There isn't a time that you as an educator get to relax because you still have that relationship with them that they need to know that you're there no matter what. So you give them the confidence to push their own boundaries and to engage in the material, engage in the experience, knowing that they're safe and they're supported. But it's a lot of work. It's a commitment that I make because the value of this type of experience, this experiential learning, this immersed fieldwork experience, is nothing that you can do in a classroom setting. It's this full, absolute engagement, and you see the students grow as confident excavators because they're learning how to do it. They're experiencing the thrill of the discipline because they're excavating. They're doing the real research. They're finding things, in some cases, that have been buried underneath the ground for literally thousands of years, and they're touching it. They're digging it up. They're recording it. So you can't replace that with like an in-class experience.
Yeah, that's true.
And to see them grow, some of them, they've never left their hometowns. This is their first time out of the province or out of the country into another part of the world. And that's pretty awesome to see them grow as individuals. So it's worth it. It's worth all the extra efforts to get us on campus, to get us on the airplane, to get us in the field, to deal with logistics in the field and all of the challenges that go with it, because we bond and we're this team, and I get to see them having an amazing experience.
Yeah, because to engage students 24/7 outside their comfort zone,
Yeah.
I do appreciate whatever you do to keep them busy. Do they work mostly during the day or in the evenings? How do you plan the field trip, the field work?
Well, I am of the mindset that free time is a bad thing sometimes. My students are going to be watching this maybe and be like, "Oh my goodness, I'm never signing up for that." No, I'm very rigorous, and I keep them continuously engaged. So it depends on the site we're working at. For example, if we're working in the Middle East, and we're there in the summer because that's when we run the field school, is in the summer months, because here during the semester they're in other classes. So we're there often kind of mid-June into July. And because it's so hot there, we get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and we start excavating at the site at 5:15, depending on the bus schedule and things like that. So it's an early morning. It's a quick, everybody out of bed, got to get everybody on the bus. And most students are really good. They get used to the rhythm. Some students, I know I show up every morning knocking on their door. Okay, the bus is about to go. You've got 10 minutes. But they also know it's a tight ship, right? That the bus and the schedule is fixed. And often I find that the students thrive when these rules are really rigorous because they know what's expected and they know how to achieve those expectations too. So the schedule, we get up at 4, we get to the site by 5:15, we excavate, we get a second breakfast at around 8:30. So kind of like good hobbits, right? We get to eat breakfast twice. And then we're finished at the site by around 12:30, 1 o'clock, take the bus back to the base camp. We have lunch. Then the day is not done because at that point now we have to start washing the pottery that's been soaking from the days before, clean all that. Then we have to analyze all that pottery in the afternoon. Then there are lectures. So there's this schedule that is so tight. There's a small break in the afternoon where you can shower.
Take a nap.
No naps. And then by the time they've eaten dinner at 7, they're all exhausted, right? And so then everybody goes to sleep to do it all again. And I tease them. I was like, don't worry, because you know what? On the weekends, when we're doing, because I take them on tours to other sites so they can contextualize what they're doing, right? So it's not just every day we're excavating. So we excavate for 5 days during the work week. And then on the weekends, I take them on field trips every single weekend that we're there. And so I tease them like, guess what? You get to sleep until 6 o'clock. The bus leaves at 7. And then we're on an adventure, right? So, I mean, the students are absolutely exhausted by the time they get home, and me too, but they've never complained about it being a terrible, at least like not in hindsight, right? Maybe at the moment they're like, I'm so tired. But yeah, it certainly makes the experience tight and very full over those 5-6 weeks.
That's good. Yeah, I hope the students appreciate, because I didn't have such experience back home in Nigeria, where during the school that they take us on field trip, although maybe because of my major, mathematics, we learn everything from the board. So I hope they enjoy their trip, because knowing places is one of the things I know students enjoy to do. They want to travel. It's a unique experience for them.
Yeah.
Now, coming back to classroom, how has your level of confidence improved over the years in teaching and learning?
That's a good question, because I'm not sure it has. No, I'm definitely more confident as a teacher, because I know how to, I'd say, organize myself as an educator. I know what works for me and what tends to work for the students. But I will say that I'm nervous, borderline terrified at the beginning of every semester. Every time, because
the same thing with me.
I don't know how it's going to go, and I want it to go really well. And are the students going to like the course material? How can I engage them? What can I do to make their experience better? So I'm really nervous all the time. I'd say, well, really nervous at the beginning, especially because I want to set that tone and I want to make sure that it's a positive experience for them.
Yes, yeah.
And as much as I know the material, I mean, some of these courses I've been teaching for years, and with a discipline like archaeology, there's a lot of new discoveries and changes, but the foundations are pretty stable, I'd say. Like, we add things and we adjust things. So I'm confident in what I'm teaching, but the delivery and the engagement with the class, I'm always wanting to make it the best experience. But I think that those nerves are good, because if I were to just saunter into the classroom, all right, gang, we're ready. You're all going to listen to me talk about some kind of topic. I don't know, that wouldn't be me, right? I prepare before every single class that I teach. I go through the material. I want to make sure that it's like in my head, because also I have these notes, but I never look at my notes because I get so crazily excited that I'm like just talking. And so I want to make sure that all of the things that I want to teach are in my head. So I have this nervousness before my class. And but I think it's good because I care, right? I care about what my students are going to learn. Not maybe even the whole semester, but even in that class. So so my confidence is better than when I first started teaching, I'd say, but I'm still nervous. I still want to keep myself in check, right? I still want to give them that experience that they deserve.
Yeah, I know sometimes myself, I get carried away and I get to statistics is fun. Let's make it. And instead of coming back to class, oh no, slow it down. So I can understand and I can relate to what you are saying because I think almost everyone gets nervous. Not that we don't know what we want to teach, but how do we give the student the best experiential learning? How do we engage them? How do we make sure they are gaining, they are meeting the objectives?
Right.
Yeah, getting the goals of the materials that you want to present. I do appreciate your honesty and your being passionate, being able to get to the level of the student, to carry them along. I know archaeology is not an easy thing for me, getting to the field, even learning the theory in class. It was tough, but at least we are here today. Okay, so let's look back to your supervision of independent studies. I know you engage some students in independent study as well. Can you give us some background, some information on how that is going or that has gone in the past?
I teach a lot of independent studies. Sometimes I have teams of 15 students in the semester with me doing independent studies.
Wow.
It's something that I've done from the very beginning. What I offer to any student, whether they're an archaeology major or not, any student that wants to gain an experience in the lab or in the field or on a research project or doing some research that they're interested in, I want to allow them and encourage them to do that. So I have a whole variety of, independent study students and independent study topics that I teach. A lot of them are laboratory based, especially tied to what we're excavating in the field, but not always, but a lot of time it's a study about that. So what I find is that the students that have been with me in a particular course or especially in the field, they will have been exposed to that topic or exposed, even in the case of the field school, to those artifacts. They might have even excavated those artifacts. And it allows me to then bring that experience that they've had or that course that they've had and tie it to some independent learning that they're going to do to reinforce and even push what they've learned in those experiences or courses further. So I have students that will work on the faunal remains that we've excavated from the Fincastle site, which is a site just east of Lethbridge, or lithic artifacts from Israel that we excavated over the seasons. Fire-broken rock that we recently excavated from Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. So they get to then work with me in the lab, and we work one-on-one with the material. And one of the things that I allow them to do, but also I encourage them to do, is do real research, like the real training, the real deal. And this is the same in the field schools too. So they're not just taking the course to check the box or to even have the experience of learning that particular artifact processing analysis, let's say. They're doing the actual research. So when they're cleaning those bones or when they're brushing those artifacts or measuring them, that's going into the database,
Yes.
that I'm using, that colleagues are using to analyze the past. They're doing the real thing. And they know that because at the beginning we talk about what their independent study is going to be for them, but also for the discipline and for the research. So they know that it's not just a course, it's an experience, and it's contributing to the research that we're doing here at the university and with colleagues outside the university. So they're doing that, and I tell them, you know, the bar's here to get the A, this is to get the B, this is to get the C. But in this type of project, in this independent study, I can't have you, I don't want you to get the C. I need you to get the A because I need to rely on the data that you're putting in the database from your analysis. I need to know that it's correct. I need to know that you're doing A-level research. So how do we get you there so you have the confidence and the experience to do the good, solid research? How do we get you there? And how do we then allow you to build what you're doing and what you're learning and contribute then to the bigger picture? So it pushes them a lot, and they know that. We talk about at the very beginning, that if you want to sign up and do this independent study, this is what it's going to be like. This is where I need you to be. And if you can't commit to that, then I still need you to do A-level work, but maybe fewer hours or a smaller sample size or whatever the case may be. So it's tough, and again, it's laying out the expectations in a very, very clear way from the beginning, and giving them the tools and the guidance and my time and commitment to get them to that A point, because I want them to know that what they've done is fantastic work, because they build their confidence in themselves too. So kind of it's back to the whole thing about my teaching philosophy. It's we're learning together, right? And they're gaining confidence as researchers and as students as they grow and mature. So so I do a lot of these independent studies.
Yeah, it's good. But the way you explain it, it seems it's taking more time than actual teaching.
It does take a lot of time.
Because guiding the student, going to the lab to make sure they are taking the right measurement, they are recording the correct data, because people are going to be using that data for future predictions, is a lot.
Yeah.
How do you manage?
I don't sleep a lot, and I spend a lot of time here on campus. A lot of time. But no, they invigorate me. The students invigorate me, and so I don't feel tired when I'm with them. I'm excited because we're doing this stuff together, and yeah, it's a lot of work, but the benefits are so worth it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So let's look at what kind of interaction do you have between classrooms and field in some of your courses?
Well, a lot of the stuff that we've excavated in the field, I bring into the classroom. So I'll be able to show even the students in the first year course with a big room of 200 students. Wow. I bring the artifacts into the class. And sure, we'll talk about them, or I'll talk about them kind of at the front and I'll show them. But then towards the end of the class, I encourage them to come down and pick up the artifacts and touch them and kind of see, like, for themselves what they look like and then how they would be analyzed. They can get a better appreciation of the artifacts then in sort of the context of the class, like if we're talking about the analysis of a particular type of artifact. So I certainly do that. I'm lucky because I have all those things here on campus that I could cart around and bring to the different classes. We have a great room on campus. It's small, and so hopefully we'll be able to expand it. It's pretty tight, but we've got an artifact collection that is phenomenal here. Wow. Lots of artifacts have been donated. We've got casts from all over the world, especially the early prehistoric time period. So we've got Oldowan tools that are literally 2 million years old, or casts of them.
Wow.
So we've got a good collection that we can work with. So in the archaeology classroom, we have cupboards and cupboards of these artifacts. And so as the students progress into these upper level courses, they get to work with the material hands-on and sit in the archaeological classroom and get experience with those collections. So I have that at my disposal, and we've been building that and building that and building that over the years. And so, like I said, hopefully we'll now have a bigger space, because once you get 20 students in there and all the artifacts all over the tables, it's pretty tight, but it's fun. So the real hands-on stuff. So when we're talking about artifact analysis, they're actually doing the real analysis on real artifacts. It's not just an assignment that they do from pictures or things like that. Yeah, so that's really, really good. One of the things that is, I'd like to say, unique to our university, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just, really, I love our university, so I always think we're the best.
Yes, we are the best.
But certainly one of the things that we do really well is that our faculty and our students create these bonds. And so I can see that with our archaeology students, or at least the students that are in the classes. I shouldn't say just majors, because students from other majors are in our classes too.
Yeah.
Because we're a liberal arts school, right?
Yeah.
And so in the archaeology classroom, those 20 students, they create this bond because they're working together. They're doing these assignments, and sometimes they're group assignments, sometimes they're individual assignments, but they're collaborating, they're discussing the piece, like, I think it's this, no, I think it's this for this reason. So when I'm overhearing this, I see them not just memorizing and learning, they're actually applying and they're thinking critically about what they're doing. So it's such a great thing to see as an educator,
as an educator.
But also to see them bond like that. So of course I get to see them bond in the field.
They have no option.
But yeah, exactly. They are a team from day one. Actually, before even day one, because we're picking bottles. We're doing the highway cleanup together as a fundraiser. So we're already picking bottles in May to raise money. But back to the classroom, I see them bonding in the classroom together. And because we have a dedicated archaeology classroom space, they come and go, and they're working on their assignments throughout the semester. They have a code to get in the door, and it becomes their safe place to not only do their archaeology work, but also to meet for coffee, to hang out between classes, and they push each other. Like they support each other, and they also push each other to be the best that they can be in the archaeology classes, but in their other classes too, because I'll often see them studying for math or for stats, right, in the archae classroom, because they're also in a statistics class or in a math class. And so they're working through their assignments together in that space.
That's good.
And so I love that about the University of Lethbridge, is that we have all of these great spaces on campus where students get to make it their home base and to come together and to work with faculty, but also work with each other. It's such a nice thing to see, right? So
that's a great experience that the University of Lethbridge is providing the students, because when they leave, they are going to be working with people. They need to learn how to collaborate.
Yes.
And since they have laid the foundation here, it will be easy for them out there to just join the group and be able to move ahead with things. Yeah. So you're actually making a great contribution to their learning. Yes. Recently, the University of Lethbridge moved from face-to-face to online. I know
this was dramatic.
Many of us were stressed. How do I learn about new technology, getting this to the student, and still making sure that the students get the best experience. I know the university tries so much to make sure that they support even the teaching center, working with many faculties, creating boot camps just to prepare teachers to alleviate the, or to help them with the expectation that take it easy, you can. He's well, he's going to be all right. How do you cope moving from face-to-face to online? And what is your experience by teaching online this semester?
Well, how am I personally coping? Not well. No, in all seriousness, I mean, it's tough, right? It's tough because you lose that face-to-face connection with your students. Yes. You can try to model that on Zoom or on an online platform, but it's very different than being with them in the classroom or in the field. In my case, we had to cancel the field school. We were supposed to be in Jordan this summer, and it got canceled, right? So I was crushed. They were crushed, right? But you know, nothing that you can't change what the reality is, right?
Yeah, it's beyond us.
So the end of the spring semester, we're always very positive here at the U of L. Instead of calling it winter semester, we call it spring. Right? Because so in March, when things shut down and we were forced to go online, we didn't have much time to try to deliver the course. So I was teaching my first year course, which was, had 200 students in it. Wow. So I still wanted to give them the lectures, and I tried my best to do my voice over my PowerPoint slides and email them as much as possible and do some kind of bigger Zoom sessions. But it was kind of survival mode, right? And then the other course I was teaching was my materials analysis course. This is like the hands-on artifact analysis course in the classroom with the students. And you can't teach that online the same way. So, I had to get special permission, which I'm so thankful that the dean allowed me to, the associate dean allowed me to. I came onto campus with my laptop and my handheld video camera thing, and I picked up the artifacts and I showed them, and we talked about it together on Zoom, and then I took pictures of things, and so this is how we survived the end of the semester by cobbling things together. Now, I will say that the fall semester has been better because instead of being in crisis mode, we had more time to think about it. And we're, again, so fortunate here that we have the teaching center there as our support. So they did so much work over the summer trying to figure out the best courses or the best technology that we can use to deliver our courses, and created these really well-designed modules and courses that we could follow to learn how to deliver these topics and using this technology. And so it was overwhelming, but we had all these resources that we could start to experiment with and decide on what to use, and also to pick up the phone and call them this is not working, and how do I do this? And so there were so many emails. They're there to help us and to support us. Thank goodness, because I want the students to be able to get the experiences even though we're not face to face. I want them to know that I care about their learning, and I just don't want them to be like, okay, read the book and take this test, and then you can move on. University is not about that. No. University is about so much more than just reading our notes or listening to our voices, right? So it's been hard, and just now I'm struggling because on the one hand, I'm really enjoying UJA, but there are challenges with it because I like to talk a lot. Exactly. So sometimes I'm on the same slide for a while, and I don't know if that's boring then for the students or not. And so I've been experimenting with a few different things. So I want the students to still be engaged and not just listening to my online lectures and downloading them whenever they want. I want to give them a reason to come to class, let's say, or a reason to engage with their fellow peers and colleagues in the classes, to engage with me. But it's hard.
I know.
So, yeah, and one of the things that my colleague Kevin McGew and I have done is we've created these virtual field trips. So instead of just listening to us talking about particular topics in the class or in the course, this is for our first year class, we literally roamed around Southern Alberta, visited different archaeological sites and like filmed videos.
Okay.
So they're not professional at all.
But at least it's something.
But at least we're outside, so they can see that this is what you'd go and see if you go and visit these sites. And we try to tie then things together, so in less book focused, more experience focused.
Yeah.
And then also show them the fun of it, the fun of learning and the joy of learning. So we're hoping that they're liking them. I hope that they like these virtual field trips. I hope that they are making those connections between the book learning and then another form of learning, so that the experience, or at least kind of watching the experience of not being at the site themselves.
But at least they will have the feel.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So we've been experimenting and doing things like that to try to make this online learning a little less boring or like stagnant, right? So hopefully that comes through. We'll see when they at the end of the semester if they've liked it or not. But yeah.
Yeah, it has been a great experience for me as well, because I've never in my life, for over 30 years, even try online teaching. No. When we were told in March, 3 days to transfer to online. What?
I know. Like it was traumatic. Like it was trauma for me. Like I didn't sleep.
I was on the teaching center. I called them almost 18 hours per day. I'm running into this problem. I need it solved. And they are always there to support, to help us out of the wood.
Yeah, they're amazing, really. Like, we're so lucky, hey?
So lucky to have them.
We're so lucky to be at a university that cares so much about teaching.
About teaching, yes.
Because that's not everywhere.
No.
And so...
Yeah, it's one of the unique characteristics of University of Leipzig. So I wasn't surprised when the recent result from Maclean that we are the second best. I was expecting us to be the best in Canada,
yeah.
But the second best is still good.
It's still good.
Yeah, it's still good. It's still good because of the one-on-one relationship, the closeness, and the bond we form with our students, and we make them feel at home.
Right.
We treat them as our own kids.
Yeah.
So
and we care very, about them, good. Right?
We care a lot.
Yeah.
And we show the passion. Yes, I know you have a great experience in teaching and learning. Do you want to share some with new hires who are thinking, do I go into teaching? Do I go, I'm going to the industry? Do you have some experience that you can share to them so that they won't be scared, as some of us when we started teaching at the post-secondary school, post-secondary institution?
Maybe to know that the fear that you're experiencing, especially as a new teacher, is normal. Nobody, if you don't have that fear, then you're probably not a good teacher, actually.
I agree.
So it's okay to be scared, and it's normal to be scared. But also let your personality drive you. Be yourself in the classroom. Don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself. Be comfortable up there because it's you. And know that the students, that is, they want to be there. Yes. They've signed up for that course. They want to be there and learn from you. Mm-hmm. And sure, that comes with responsibility. Mm-hmm. They're there in your classroom. You want to be prepared and do your best. but they're happy to hear what you have to say. And so you can kind of breathe and know that it's okay to be nervous, but just teach from your heart, like teach from yourself, your own being, and they'll love it because they will see that you care about them and that you care about the topic.
Exactly.
And they will embrace that. Yeah. Students are wonderful.
They are wonderful.
And it's scary sometimes, especially when your class is big, but they're all there for the same reason. They want to learn the material, at least for most, right? And so it's okay to be nervous, and it's okay to make mistakes too. It's okay to have a really bad teaching day and be like, well, that didn't work.
Self-reflection.
Today's lecture was a bust. And then just go in the next class and say, you know what? Last week, that didn't go so well. So I'm going to try something new today. And they'll be okay with that, right?
Yeah, just be transparent and be honest with the students.
Yeah, exactly.
They appreciate it a lot. Yeah, I do remind them, some of them, that, you paid a lot to come to this university. So you want to get the best out of it. Yeah, don't be carried away. Mm-hmm. Make sure you give it your best. Yeah, so I think the new hires will find it more interesting because the university is expanding with bringing in new specialization areas.
Yeah.
And I know because we like the smallness, but we should be ready to increase the population as long as we are giving the best, because many people want to come to Lethbridge.
Right.
Yeah. I know you are involved in a lot of community engagement in terms of high school teaching, going to visiting community schools. Yeah. Can you share some of your experience with us?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I think maybe it's because I'm a teacher somewhere in my soul. I'm an archaeologist and I'm a researcher and I'm a colleague, but I'm also deep down inside me, I'm a teacher. I love that engagement. I love to share my knowledge and to share the excitement of the discipline. And so I'm happy to share that excitement with anybody that will listen. No, in all seriousness, I do spend a lot of time in the K-12 schools. So one of the things that I've worked hard to build is a relationship between the teachers and my students, but also and myself. The curriculum in Alberta has points in the social studies curriculum especially, but also in other elements of the curriculum where archaeology is really nicely tied. So the grade 4 curriculum especially talks about First Nations, heritage, Métis heritage, and of course, the past and the present and where we are going in the future. So the archaeological record of the prehistoric and historic time periods in the province gives a lot of information then that the teachers can use to share with their students. So I've created a resource book for teachers. Well, it's for kids actually. It's an activity book, a workbook for kind of grade 4 or 5 that I use, and I'll go into those classrooms and I'll teach them about our archaeological record from the different sites across the province, and there are activities that they get to do, and mazes and word searches and kind of all this fun stuff. And I dress up in my it's not really I was laughing. I was going to dress up in my archaeological outfit today. Well, literally, it's my field outfit that I'm most comfortable in. But I dress up in my work clothes and my safety vest and all this stuff, and I bring my toolbox and depending on the age level of the kids. So if they're really young, like kindergarten or grade 1 or grade 2, but even the grade 4 or 5s and 6s, like I'll dress up and I'll like ask them, what's in my toolbox? Let's guess like what's in an archaeological toolbox. And then so as they guess, I'll pull out the tools. And so then they get to see the tools and touch the tools. And we talk about safety and we talk about how I do my job, because when I was a student, archaeology wasn't considered a profession. Like I was discouraged from even thinking about doing archaeology in university from my guidance counselor. Why would you pick that? That's not a real job. That's not a real thing. So I want to make sure that the next generation knows that it's a real thing. But also I want them to get excited about the past, because knowledge of the past allows us to learn and to grow from that and help us navigate the future, right?
Yes.
So getting them young and engaged in this past creates this relationship, this really good, solid relationship. And then, you know, hopefully they become cultural stewards of our heritage, etc. So I do a lot of that, a lot of K-12 stuff where I'm in the classroom and working with the teachers, and of course then playing with the students when I get to show up. But I also work with seniors. I go to senior centers and give talks. I am currently the president of the Archaeological Society of Alberta. It's a position that I've held in the past, and I'm the current president. I've been in that role for the last 3 years, and this is a volunteer role that I have, and I'm very committed to, because the purpose of the Archaeological Society of Alberta is to share our knowledge with all Albertans, or well, everybody in the world, really, and to teach people the value. And this, I don't mean monetary value, I mean the value of our past and of our heritage. In our province, you can't own cultural resources. They're owned by all Canadians, all Albertans, if they're cultural resource that's protected. So I want to explain things like this and why we should all be knowledgeable and also be cognizant of the fact that our cultural resources are non-renewable. If they're excavated, or if there's a road being put in, right, archaeologists go in and excavate that site's gone then, right? That highway is put in. So there's a lot of responsibility with making sure that our heritage is managed correctly, but also valued by everyone. And to disseminate that, we do that through the Archaeological Society, which is a not-for-profit provincial heritage organization within the province. So there are 5 other PHOs. So it's a pretty big role then, being the president of the Archaeological Society of Alberta, but one that I'm really, really passionate about. And so it gets me out there into the community, and I bring my students with me because I want them to be exposed and to also learn how to share that knowledge. So when I go to a K-12 school, I'll ask, like, so who wants to come with me to go to see the grade 4 class at a school in Tabor? And, you know, they're so, like, the students at the university are so wonderful. So I'll have a bunch of volunteers like, I want to come. And so then we'll go together to this school, or to, you know, the Rotary Club, or whatever it is, whatever place we're going to. And then they get that experience too, because they're working with the little kids as well, or the seniors, or members of the public. They're getting that exposure. So it's really fun. So I'm also then a teacher at that time too, because I'm dragging my student with me. But yeah, so I try to, I guess, blend all of these different things that I'm doing together and involve the students in all of these things as much as I can. So if that's community outreach, or if that's lab work, or if that's field work,
that looks
all of the above.
Interesting, very interesting. Yes, I know you have spoken a lot about your teaching and field work, How do you relate your research to the teaching experience that you give to students?
I'm really lucky because a lot of my research is directly tied to the teaching that I do. Not all of it, but a lot of it is. So if I'm excavating at the site, like for example, my excavation in Israel. So I'm excavating at that site. My research goals and my colleagues, my colleagues that are from the Tel Aviv University and Harding University. So our research goals are to understand the cultural change that has taken place over the centuries that the site was occupied. We want to understand things like engagement, cultural boundaries, because it's right on a border zone between two different cultural areas. We want to understand the different organizations, community organizations, the way that the site functioned through time. So there are all these overarching questions that we're trying to get at the site. So those are like high level research questions that we're focusing on, because when we're at the site, we're then trying to answer these research questions. But the students are with me, excavating there right alongside me, and I'm teaching them how to excavate. I'm teaching them how to recognize the different artifacts that they're excavating. I'm teaching them how to sort, how to clean, how to take notes, how to record all the stuff that they're excavating. So they're learning all these things, but at the same time, the things that they are excavating and recording and washing and sorting are all then used to understand that site, that particular site that we're working on. So that's an easy way to kind of show how my research is directly tied. And then this is any archaeological site. So this could be the fur trade site that I work up north at with colleagues from the RAM and Heinz, now retired. He's an adjunct faculty member now at the University of Lethbridge. I've recruited him. So our questions that we're trying to answer up there, again, is about early fur trade in the province and trying to better understand the relationships between the First Nations, the Europeans that are arriving, how they engaged in not only trade, but also settling and navigating the Peace River, which is not exactly easy. So all of these questions that we're trying to answer, and the students are there in the field with us.
That's good.
So lots of direct ties. And then my independent studies students are often working on elements that are tied to these bigger research projects. And again, not always. I encourage them to do what they want to do too, and that might not necessarily be my research, but a lot of times it is. So I have those things. And then kind of even back to the first year course. So when I'm talking about excavation methods in archaeology and showing the first year students how to excavate a site, my photos are from other students excavating the site. So the students in the first year get to see those third and fourth year or other students excavating and doing the real thing. Meanwhile, the first year students are learning what the grid is and sort of things. And then I bring the artifacts to class, which we've excavated, which is, of course, the research. The reason we're excavating is a research question. You can't excavate a site just for the sake of excavating it, because it's, like I was saying, it's a non-renewable resource, right? So you don't want to destroy a site if there's not a good reason to be excavating. So those are easy ties. So I'm really lucky because I'm able to bring the students right into my research, and all of their hard work contributes to my success too, my success as a researcher, because they're my team. So I've been really fortunate that I've been able to entwine those two.
Thank you very much for creating time to meet with us today. We really appreciate you. University of Lethbridge is very lucky to have teachers, professors like you on campus, on ground. And it is my great honor, it is an honor for me to be with the best teacher of the year, Distinguished Teaching Award winner, Dr. Shawn Bubel. Thank you very much.